My topic in these 3 sessions are basically on good teaching. But the first 4 lectures have not been directly on good teaching. We've talked about tutored video instruction, we've talked about ElNET-3L. That's how the first 4 went. Next, we'll begin on the criteria of good teaching, and finally, how to measure teaching and why to measure teaching. That would be much more relevant to the topic we have decided to talk about in this series of 4 lectures, series of 10 lectures. What lessons do we learn from tutored video instruction and ElNET-3L when it comes to good teaching? Good teaching has certain characteristics. Although there are variation in opinions, there are differences in opinions, but there is also a convergence of opinions as far as good teaching is concerned. We find that learning from videotaped instruction of normal classroom courses, nothing specially recorded, can be as effective, if not significantly more effective, than the actual classroom lecture, if the videotape students follow a certain procedure. This is an incredible kind of statement, that we are not taking any special care. We are saying any faculty teaching anywhere in the class, his or her course would be as effective, if not more effective, if heard through videotape instruction. So there is something we are doing in videotape instruction which we are not doing in the real class. This procedure has most of the important features of good teaching, a topic to be discussed in detail in the next slides. So what is it that we are doing in videotape instruction? Either TVI or ElNET-3L. ElNET-3L, adapted from TVI, had almost no entry qualification restriction, unlike any other officially recognized course. Stanford's minimum requirement is a GPA of 2. Well, although nobody with a GPA of 2 ever gets into Stanford. IITs have extremely stiff requirements of entry, and yet this course had no entry qualification requirement. Anybody, anywhere could join. I have personal knowledge of housewives, medical doctors, engineers from All India Radio, and doctors from AIMS have joined courses like that and have done very, very well indeed. They have met me in the street and congratulated. This is surprising to say the least. The success rate was better than the most of the distance education programs of time. Unlike formal university programs of study, they could exercise their choice at any point of time. Not only did they have any entry qualification, they could choose a course of GUI, they could choose a course of C, they could choose a course of any of the courses if they felt that they knew the prerequisite. This is what it should be in education system. I should be able to take a course which I think is good for me, which I think I can handle, and in reality I find that I can handle very well indeed. So this is open entry system, which is a characteristics of distance education program. But these courses were not distance education programs at that time, because they were taught by faculty, marked by faculty, and they are on pen and paper. No need to chunk the lessons prior to presentation. Students did the chunking by matching viewing time to their own attention span. There is a general feeling across the educators throughout the world that the courses, when sent out in video form, need to be chunked into small time frame, typically 15 to 20 minutes chunking. This would allow the students to have concentrated on them in real time. But in reality, this is wrong. You could you could prepare a 1 hour tape or even longer, leave the students to watch it for as long as they like, and start them when they like. The chunking will be done by students' own attention span, and that attention span we have already seen is 6 to 8 minutes, which is the right amount of attention span. Students discuss all important issues and kept the unresolved ones to discuss with the tutor after the lecture. This is a characteristic of flip teaching. You listen to the tape, whatever you don't understand, you discuss among yourself and preferably solve the problem yourself. If you do that, you learn better. If you cannot solve it, you leave it to the instructor for the next day. You should not discuss and get it solved by a local tutor. Usually the local tutors are not as knowledgeable as the main tutor, and the chances of you being taught wrongly is very, very high indeed. And flip teaching is an important methodology of good teaching. A popular methodology for good teaching was an integral part of ElNET-3L. So we find attention span is matched, flip teaching is built in, the ability or the flexibility choosing a course of one's own liking, reading it or watching it anytime they like is an integral part of this thing. Collaborative mode was encouraged better learning, because in both videotape instruction, TVI as well as ElNET-3L, we had suggested that tapes should be stopped 6 to 8 minutes watching, after 6 to 8 minutes of watching, and discuss among themselves in a collaborative mode and not competitive mode. There are lots of proofs that collaborative mode of instruction improves learning far more than competitive mode of learning. Small group, typically 4, made for better bonding and more effective collaboration. You all know that if there are 20 students in a class, they would not be bonding as much as if there are 4 students in a class, 4 or 5 students in a class. So effective collaboration was increased greatly by reducing the number of students to what, 3 or 4. Keeping study centers open from 8 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. 7 days a week, and opening large number of study centers increased educational productivity greatly. We've not talked about educational productivity, but really speaking, this is what was the motivation of DSCP. That means that the good faculty of great institutions only taught a few students. The number of students could be maximum 30, 40, 50 or 60. So the reach was limited. If by somehow we could increase the reach of this great faculty to a much larger section of the population, then that would be a great thing to do. But at the same time, we must ensure that the reach of this faculty is increased but not the quality. The quality is not diminished. Both ElNET-3L and TVI proved beyond doubt that the reach of the faculty is increased greatly without decreasing the quality. That means the educational productivity, the number of students trained in a particular subject by a great faculty increased greatly. And also, this opened up the possibility of the future, that in future we could be streaming videos 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anybody could watch at any time, for any length of time. So chunking was not necessary. The place of choice, the pace of learning, all of that would be the choice of the student. Whichever course they wanted, they could watch at any time. So that was another great way of increasing educational productivity. It also meant significant increase in administrative load. Nothing comes free of cost. So while educational productivity was increased a great deal, we found that if we had to maintain standard, the quality of the students, their choice of courses, providing adequate facilities, all of that needed a lot of administrative support. So this administrative support increased a great deal. And our model that the educational institutions would bear the educational load and the administrative organization and the commercial organization would bear the administrative load was a very, very useful one indeed. The cost sharing was ideal. Even IIT made money out of it, as well as DSCP also made money. They did what they were doing, they were best at doing, and we did what we were best at doing. So the model where all day-to-day activity, conducting examination was their responsibility, whereas the actual setting up of papers, correcting papers, giving grades was IIT Kharagpur's responsibility, but carrying the papers, distributing the papers, deciding on the hall, all of that was DSCP's responsibility. So that way, again, each one, all the responsibilities were equally divided. Studies have shown that the popularity of distance education programs, online courses increases significantly if these are offered by reputed organizations and a certificate is given on successful completion of the course. This is published result. That if the same course was given by an unknown college, it would not be as popular. So the certificates had to be certificate of examination had to be given, but they had got grades. And IIT Kharagpur decided the grades would be A, B, C, and D, these 4 grades, and they would be very strictly approved. Both TVI and ElNET-3L had certification as a built-in feature. There are controversies on the role of tutors. Although there are publications by Professor Gibbons and his team, several publications where they used tutors, and they have extensively talked about the role of tutors in tutor video instruction, but there are also other papers which shows that the tutor's role may not be as important as is made out by the Professor Gibbons' team. I cannot recall the paper, but it's a 1979 or 80 paper in which the authors have suggested that they used no tutors and did not see any significant deterioration in quality without using tutors. There are great advantages if this be the so, but experiments have to be done. We have not used a case where there were no tutors. We have always used tutors following Professor Gabels's method. But if there are no tutors, then the scope of such courses increases greatly. IIT Kharagpur has already established a model where this can be done electronically, and the courses can be available are available at any point of time, any course to any students, and they can solve online the difficulties online, but there are no tutors. But the tutors can be virtual tutors. So you can post your question to an online site, and anybody who can take up, somebody can take up a role of a tutor. This is something I have already mentioned. This is the bigger plan of TVI and ElNET-3L. When we designed the program, we designed to see that upscaling was possible as time went on, which meant that as rapid development of IT industry promised massive changes in delivery and interaction modes, peer-to-peer and peer-to-mentor video conferencing, we could scale up. We already have a model like that, and we published a paper in 1999, where we had already predicted that video conferencing would become popular, and peer-to-peer, peer-to-mentor discussions and interactions would become popular. Access to any course, anytime, from anywhere was becoming a real possibility, which is today anybody who looks at YouTube or looks at the social media sees that any course can be obtained from any time, from anywhere, almost from any time, from anywhere. Greatly increased educational productivity combined with highly effective learning methodology at a very affordable cost seemed real. MOOC is an example of this. Massively open online courses are examples of that. This particular program is part of that only. Towards the end of ElNET-3L project, we realized that our next major step should be a massive increase in production capacity of high quality video courses. Developments in ICT industry worldwide was going to bring down the cost of storage and streaming media quickly, but there would be a massive shortage of good digital courses. This is what IIT Kharagpur has done. We experimented with video conferencing, we experimented with online courses, we experimented with all of that, but what we did most was produce good quality video courseware, a large amount of video courseware. So when the technology was ready, we were ready with the courses. Another interesting aspect of tutored video instruction and ElNET-3L is weaker students put in more effort, small group size increases inclusiveness, students learn from one another's discussion. Because videotapes can be stopped at any time, weaker students can see it again and again, and they do actually see it again and again. We have seen that in the case of TVI, the bright Japanese engineers of not Sony, but I forget the actual name of the company, they were not doing well initially. But when allowed to stop and start, their performance increased rapidly. So it was not a question of their being not bright enough. It was a question of their inability to absorb the information because of the language difficulty. Stronger students often act as tutors to weaker students. This is a psychological issue. when you stop the tape for 2 to 3 minutes, after 6 to 8 minutes of interaction, you find the questions which remain are usually answered by stronger students who take pride in explaining to the weaker students. But after some time, the weaker students also take up the same responsibility. So, ElNET-3L and good teaching, what are the similarities, what are the lessons we learn? We find that in good teaching practice, as we shall discuss a little later, small group collaborative learning is an important issue in good teaching. This is a built-in feature of both ElNET-3L and tutored video instruction. Delivering instruction in chunks which matches attention span is an extremely important issue of good teaching. This is again an important feature of ElNET-3L. Flip teaching. After 6 to 8 minutes of discussion, you come back and discuss the problem along with the faculty. If the answers are not available, you discuss the next day. This is flip teaching. This is part of ElNET-3L. Weaker students, students with language difficulty get more time to learn. Discussion groups in good teaching is an example of this. So, this is a feature of good teaching, this is also a feature of ElNET-3L. They learn what they want to learn. One does not have to go through a course, one does not have to go through all kinds of things which they are not interested in. Massive scope to increase educational productivity. These are all ElNET-3L and TVI instruction. So, basically what we have talked about in TVI and ElNET-3L is there are features which are common to both and which are extremely important for good learning. Thank you.